So guys, why are we here today? We are here today so we could put a clutch in my van here. Now I've already started this and I practically nearly died of hypothermia because it's the new year 2025 in January, and this clutch has been needing doing for a while, and it's one of those things that you get round to doing. Now some might say, well, why didn't you pay someone to do it? Well, it's kind of like the garage that I go to doesn't do stuff like this anymore, and you know, I did put the engine in this. In hindsight, I should have put a new clutch in it, but kind of like at the time didn't have enough money for the clutch, and I came across this clutch here. Just flip the camera. So I got the clutch here for £45 off eBay. I won it in an auction. There you can see I've already got the gearbox out, and I've just squirted it with some degreaser just to get rid of all the carbon and everything inside it. And as you can see here in the engine bay, there is the old clutch ready to come off. Now as you can see, I've already done quite a bit, because all this air filter, so this is where the air filter would have been, and the battery compartment here, and everything else that's in the way there, including the drive shafts, have to be removed to get this out. Now some would say to take the subframe off, which probably would make it easier, but I haven't done on this case because we're doing this on the drive. So the drives are the same at both sides, drive shafts as I say. So there we go, all has to be removed to get the clutch out. So the engine is supported underneath with a scissor jack down there, so I use that to lower the engine up and down if I need to as well. It's better if you've got one of those overhead ones that goes across the top here. They're generally better because then you've got access underneath it. It's also better if you've got ramps and lifts and everything else to lift the van up in the air, because that's how you would get the engine out anyway, because you can't get it out any other way. When I did the engine, I had an engine crane, so I lifted it all out. I lifted the van right up in the air and dropped the engine straight out of the bottom. The bumper and everything had to be removed, but I don't know if you can see this. I know we're digressing, but there's a slam panel right across the front there. There are 4 bolts on each chassis rail that hold that on, but it's also seam welded as well, so you can't get it off at all unless you're prepared to do a lot of welding. But anyway, we digress. So what we're going to do now is we're going to clean this up, and we're going to install the new slave cylinder, the clutch, which is what releases the clutch plate off the engine and the pressure plate and everything. It's a good idea to replace that if you are doing your clutch, because obviously you don't want to get it all back together and have that blow on you. So we've got a new one there to go in. That's been on for 145,000 miles, so it's best to replace it now. And at least we won't have to worry about that again. So we're going to get on with this now. So here we go. So as you can see, I've cleaned out the gearbox. Just get rid of as much of that carbon off the old clutch as possible, and just like get rid of it of the remaining lubricant or whatever you've used inside, using some blue roll. Great. need. So this is the new one, and it comes with new bolts as well. It's got some new bolts with it. There we go, got the drive shaft seals in, we've got the release bearing on now, so now what we need to do is get onto the clutch plate. I'm going to remove it now off the van, and hopefully this will be fairly straightforward to do. I hope there's not going to be anything in my way to do this now. I do believe it's held in with 10mm bolts again. Yeah, that's what we'll do. Right, so now we're down here. I'm going to talk you through something now. Let's get the right aperture on the camera. So this is obviously the old clutch, pressure plate and everything. You've got several bolts holding the gearbox in, and probably the most awkward one is there. Now the bolt is still somewhere in that thing because it fell out somewhere, but as you can see, you've got the turbo in the way, you've got these pipes, the exhaust and everything in the way, so that took some doing. I had to use a 13mm spanner on its own to crack it off and basically do like a little turn at a time to get the bolt out. You've got several bolts down this side. I think there's about 3. There's down. Now these ones are quite easy to get to, obviously, because they're underneath. You've got your starter motor, so your starter motor needs to come off for a start, excuse the pun. You have one right behind the starter motor there, so you can't get to that unless you take the starter motor off, so the rest are at the top. So you've got 2 at the top there that are accessible once you've removed all this bit here. There's a little bracket that goes on, so it's you need to remove the bracket that's on it first, and then you can remove the bolts, so it's like a double bolt type thing. But that's all you need to do underneath there. Now I didn't film any of that because you know, there's a lot of cursing and swearing goes on when you're trying to put the gearbox out, take it out basically. So this turns, obviously, so what we need to do is basically wedge this in. You could do that with the starter motor here, so we'll do it now. So you can see we've got all of that off. I just need to work down a bit to get rid of anything that might be on there. So it didn't look too bad, did that, but obviously it was enough to make it slip. I think mainly the wheel pressure plate had gone on it mainly. So there you go, that has the gearbox side written on it, so you should know which side goes towards the gearbox. Now this is what I use for clutch aligning. It's a socket. It's very simple to use. You just put it in like that and there you go. Clutch is aligned, and then all we need to do is put this back on. So in theory it should line up with let's have a look. Is that it there? That's them there. There we go. There's little locating pins on the actual flywheel that will help that guide it back on. Now it does recommend you use new bolts. I don't have any, so I should put the old one back in. Let's start with a couple first. Now you noticed I took my gloves off to do this, and that's because I didn't want any contaminants on the actual clutch plate. You don't want any grease or anything on it. I did notice on the old one there was some grease running around, so somebody might have put some grease to help the gearbox go back in. which is a big no-no really. You don't want to do that. If there was any grease actually leaking into there, then you'd be in big trouble, because your clutch would definitely slip. So we don't want to tighten these up too much. I need to check the alignment once we've got it all in place. So there's bits of this that I've filmed and bits of it that I haven't. So obviously the last time you saw I was putting the clutch into the engine, and decided to stop filming because there was a few things that were starting to annoy me. I thought better not film these bits. Anyway, it's wrong time of year as well. But the main thing is the gearbox is now back in and the clutch is on. So I'm going to flip this round now. There we go. There's the gearbox, it's in. It's taken me a couple of hours to get that in. I had to remove the subframe. Just wouldn't go back in otherwise. So there's things like this to clip back on. These are the gear linkages. They just clip on. There's one at the back there as well. So that's done, and obviously the bracket is fixed on. There's the clutch thing to plug in there, the clutch feed. So this actually came with the metal clips. You can just about see them on there, just about, nearly. My gloves in the way, but it's got metal clips on, and this one here is for bleeding it, so we'll be putting that back on. I'm losing the, so I'm going to pack up for today, carry on tomorrow. So this in total now we're on about maybe 12 hours of unbolting and bolting back on. But the gearbox is a lot harder to get back in than you think. It'd be a lot easier with the engine out, it really would. And especially doing something like this on your drive, it is not the easiest thing in the world to do. So that being said, we've persevered with it, and I am working by myself, by the way, so this is, again, it's really a two-man job. But that being said, it's in now, it's done. We've just got everything to put back together. I'm going to have to bleed that clutch first before I put anything else on, because I can get to it from there, and yeah, we'll get there eventually. So today's over, let's crack on tomorrow on a fresh pair of eyes as well. Yes, okay. So here we are, day 4, and as you can see, the snow is still with us, and I didn't get anything done on day 3 due to the gazebo collapsing. We've got snow all around us, so I'm going to just do a few bits while I can on the van. So what we're going to do is reattach the clutch So what we're going to do is put the feedback in for the hydraulic clutch, obviously the release bearing. So this is where the hydraulic fluid will come down. When you press the pedal, it will release the bearing. It does need bleeding off, but we're going to reattach this for now, and then I'm going to put the gearbox mount back on as well, so the gearbox is supported, and then it's going to be bled off. There's still some brackets and obviously the wheels and the drive shafts to put in yet, but I'm going to leave that for now. It's just too wet, to be honest. So we just need to take the clip out here. The good thing is the new one came with a new one. Don't lose it because you need it. So put that somewhere safe. I use a magnetic tray like this so it keeps it in one place. And then you just pull the cap out and reattach it in like that. Give it a good push. And then just push the clip in there. That just holds it in place, that clip, but it is needed because of the pressure, obviously. So this needs to go into there. Might need a little jiggle around a bit. There we go, that's in. So the next thing to do is the gearbox mount. So this is the actual air filter mount. It goes in there like that. So when I dismantle things, I always put the nuts back on where they came from. That way you know where they go when you're putting it back. So you need to unscrew them. Good place to put them is in the scuttle up there. Because that's where that needs to go. And there's two 10mm bolts in the side, one there, that hold this in place. So it should just go in place. Of course, nothing ever does go back in place when you take it out. Just all sorts in the way. So, there we go. I use probably one, which is just easier. Usually do a quick spray, we get it off, but so I've got this it goes on the gearbox, So that's what mounts it to the gearbox. So that goes down there, like there. And this of course is held on with these. So we're in day whatever, I've lost track of days. But after 2 weeks since the new year, as you're probably aware, still doing the van in these freezing cold temperatures, and we're just getting nowhere. But starting to get together now, so I'll flip the camera and talk you through what I've done. Sorry I haven't done any like videos of me doing anything, it's just too damn cold. But yeah, let's have a look. So obviously I put all the bracketry on, and then the gear linkages there, you see that white bit there, so they snapped. So I had to order some new ones, so that's why it's taken 2 weeks, because no suppliers had them in. So here's the other ones that I managed to get out, and I think it's that one there. I cut it off to get it out easier, but it snapped, and because it snapped meant I couldn't get the gears at all. So this is where we are here, and here they are. So that one's clipping onto the gear stick there, so that's the gear stick there, and it clips on there, runs down through there under the heater thing. You have to get all underneath the carpet, get your sound deadener off. You can see it's stuck to the housing there, and it's bolted on at the back there, and there's a couple of 10mm bolts at the back there that are very difficult to get to at this side. You have to remove all the heater housing, the plastic ducting that's on, to get to these, and obviously cut the carpet. You've no choice but to cut your carpet and anything that's in the way, because it's all one piece. So you've got to do that to get these gear linkages in, but they're in now, so that's the main thing. Hopefully we'll have the van back up and running soon. You can test the clutch now. The clutch pedal there is up at the top now. Got a little bit of pressure on, there's still a bit of bleeding to do. Do it by hand, because it will just go straight to the floor, because it doesn't spring back, it relies on the pressure of the fluid. And obviously when you're doing that, you need to keep your bleed nipple open on the gearbox. And there you go, that's the bleed nipple. We've got the feed coming in there, and I use one of these so that it doesn't drain all over. You can see the fluid in there, and you need to keep your reservoir fully topped. You will see air bubbles coming up through the top here, so keep it right to the top, and your fluid will run down into there. Now in hindsight, and hindsight's a wonderful thing, it's better to clamp your pipe there. I didn't have a clamp, or I couldn't find it, and then I found it. But it's very, very cold. I mean, it's -5 at the moment, so potentially the rubber could be quite hard to clamp up in this weather. I don't know, but anyway, I just basically bled it through. Probably done it good to get some fluid coming through anyway, rather than using the old stuff that's in there. So what we're going to do now is get all the bracketry back on, and then I'll come back and talk you through that. So finally got the van back together, and just to talk you through it all now, what exactly went on with the clutch. I'm going to flip the camera and you'll see everything's back in place and screwed down and bolted. So here we are in the engine bay of the van. So like I said, airbox air filter has to come out. Your main inlet hose down to the turbo possibly needs to come out as well. It gets it out of the way, it gets in the way a little bit here and there. Battery compartment and battery needs to come out. Your start motor needs to come off. You've got all these brackets and everything down at the side of the engine. You've got your gear linkages and everything there behind the air filter and everything, and then you've got all the bracketry and everything to remove the engine mount. Make sure you support the engine. You can get a bar that goes across from each wing that will support the engine on the engine mounting brackets here. These here, and there's one over there somewhere. It's there. So you can balance the engine, and you can lower it up and down as you will, and it helps support the engine. Now I just used a scissor jack under mine, and I also used a jack under the gearbox to help get it back in place. There is a device you can get to go on a trolley jack that will support your gearbox, which might be advisable to get, but this isn't easy to do on your drive. Like I say, you have to jack it up in the air, get your gearbox out from underneath, and obviously support your chassis under the van with axle stands, and make sure it's safe and supported, because you'll have to crawl underneath it quite a bit. A lot easier in a garage with a ramp, has to be said. 25-30 hours of work for me in freezing cold conditions to get it back on the road, but it's up and running now. Don't forget to put some gearbox oil back in. I forgot to put some back in, and then I couldn't get my gears. As soon as I put some more oil in it, the gearbox is running smoothly as it should. It's done 140,000 miles this van, so you know, the gearbox is doing well for that kind of mileage. The engine not so good. This is the second engine that's in it, so should have really put the clutch on when I did that, but never did, due to financial reasons. But there you go, that's the van. It's completed. It's back on the road, it's running again now, so we'll get some more life out of it yet. So there you go. Obviously this isn't so much a how-to video, it was just like documenting what I was doing on YouTube, but you probably learned something out of it, I don't know, but there you go. But anyway, thanks for watching guys, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching again, and I'll see you in another video soon.